All right, welcome everyone to the Roger Williams Park Community Meeting. It's a pleasure to see you all. We do offer Spanish translation. Please just click on translation below. Bienvenidos a la reunión de la comunidad de Parque de Roger Williams. Para la traducción al español, haga clic en Translate debajo. Tonight, we're going to hear about from three different folks. We'll hear from Wendy Nielsen, Superintendent of Providence Parks, who'll give an overview and of all the things happening in the park, of which there are many, around some of the improvements you're going to be seeing this year. We're going to hear from Nestor Barnaby, the Director of Providence Tennis, about improvements to tennis and other things happening out at tennis this year. And we'll also hear from Lee Picard, Manager of Interpretation and Graphics at the Roger Williams Park Zoo. You all have entered the meeting muted. If you would like to ask a question, I will take a break after each presentation and ask for questions. Simply unmute your audio and feel free to ask a question. We have a good sized group, but it's not so large that we need to take questions in writing. So we'll go with the audio version of question and answers after each presentation. So with that, Wendy, if you're there and can unmute, we'd love to kick things off with you. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. It's so nice to see so many new faces and so many familiar faces as well. We have been really busy at the Parks Department all winter, planning all kinds of good things with our partners at the Conservancy. Some projects that you, first and foremost, you may have noticed the Gateway Center going up on Broad Street. It is roughed out, and it's every day something new is happening over there. So we're looking at a June finish for that project. There are supply chain issues everywhere, so we're going to hold on till we're a little closer to announce what that opening will look like, but probably for July or August. We presented, I think, last month on the boardwalk. That project is in. That would add a boardwalk and fishing pier over the water down by the Temple to Music. Monkey Island will be installed in April, which is really cool. That's the lit island of Mangabees, to reference what the park was 150 years ago as the zoo. As the zoo celebrates 150th and the park celebrates 152, but we're kind of sneaking in there with 150 because we had the COVID years, which kind of, has affected everyone's timeline. Sheep Hill will also be installed in April. The Botanical Center Meadow is under contract, and as soon as the weather allows, we'll begin building out the meadow behind the Botanical Center with a lovely path going down to the Rose Garden, or the Rose Maze, so to speak, Rose Maze. The bandstand is still in engineering and design. Mounted Command, we awarded the bids for that big project earlier this week, and that will include some areas for visitors to come and visit, but a much better environment for the horses and efficiencies for the police. And what I'm really excited about is that the the fence rather, around it will be improved. Both the wooden gate and the exterior gate will be a really lovely welded wire gate that will look less like a prison yard up there and more like a little more of a country estate within the park. The Boathouse Cafe is coming. We've had a few delays with that project. But that will be coming this spring. That will enable people to come and enjoy a alcoholic beverage and snack and music and boats behind the boathouse, the way the boathouse was intended to be used many, many years ago when it was given to the city of Providence. We installed fiber cable throughout the entire park so that all of the venues now have Wi-Fi. That was done with the parks team and folks at the city communication division. We're still working out the HVAC at the casino is complete. And we're in engineering right now for the front porch, the first floor doors, and waterproofing. We are working on the, when weather allows, the tree pits for Francis Green near Norwood and one across the Marconi statue. Those will help filter stormwater. The museum, we received a grant for $88,000 that is going to enable us to do some really cool exterior finishes with the museum that will, with lighting that will help attract it, and a new door that'll make it look less like a mausoleum and more like a sort of a hip museum that it is. Also, the HVAC system for that will hopefully be done this summer. Let's see what else we have here. The Mashpog treatment train is in design development. That is to filter the water that before it gets here from Mashpog to further improve the water quality. And for those of you who missed it last time, this is the first year, certainly that I can remember, that Roger Williams Park, we did not need to close anything down for cyanobacteria in the park. So the efforts that we're doing with the Stormwater Innovation Center and the city are doing is really working. And Elmwood Ave, we have, and benches are being repaired. We have a shop going on now down at our grounds facility where we're taking those pieces in and working on them. And hopefully those will all be reinstalled this spring as weather allows. So I think that's all the news that's fit to print on that. Oh, Bear Ground, sorry. We just saw the concept literally like 10 minutes ago on the Bear Ground. That bear is ridiculously cute, and hopefully we'll have some renderings to show in the next couple of weeks. He's going to be a giant black bear that kids can climb through and on and over, set in a very natural setting, over sort of behind where the Hasbro playground is now. It'll be really quite lovely, and I think it'll become a destination site for people from all over the state, but also for the neighborhood kids as well, and bigger people too. So, did I miss anything, Kevin?
I doubt it. Anything about the casino or anything? No.
I think I mentioned that one. And the temple, we're rebidding it. The bids came back ridiculously over, so we're doing a little value engineering, as we say in the business, and we'll be looking at doing that again.
Terrific. Wendy, there's a question in the chat about Wi-Fi. Is it open to the public?
It is right now. It is for the specific buildings that we have. A lot of it was, we still had dial-up service in some of them, including like the Museum of Natural History and the casino. But certainly if you're at events at those, you would be able to use that. Yeah. And certainly it does lay the groundwork to at some point do that. The city of Providence is putting Wi-Fi in about 8 different parks right now. The challenge with Roger Williams Park is it's so incredibly large that it would just be able to be in sort of one small area. I believe the new visitor center does have Wi-Fi. So that would be the location in the park.
Great. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute and ask Wendy about anything else happening in the park. Excellent. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. And we're grateful to our partnership with the Conservancy and with all of the neighbors and all of the folks who, you know, help give us ideas and feedback. And we're incredibly grateful. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I should note that in our promotions, we had we were hoping that Alan and Cynthia Day, who run the boats, would be able to join us, but they weren't able to join us today. But you did hear from Wendy that the cafe that they are working on with the Parks Department is in progress. And I know that was a very popular item that came up on our last call. So know that you'll hear more as soon as there's news that's fit to print on that project. So we're going to go to Nestor Barnaby with Providence Tennis and hear about pickleball and all sorts of other stuff that's happening out there. Take it away, Nestor.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Do you want to share that presentation, or
If
do you want me
you
to
should
do
be
it?
able to share your
my
screen. If not, I can do it.
Can you just help me put that up, or do you want to share it and I'll tell you next slide?
Yeah, I'll do. Yeah, I can do that. Just give
Alright,
me
cool.
2 seconds here.
Appreciate it.
Da-da-da-da.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Everyone's used to that now. How's that?
Perfect.
Great.
So
Nice picture.
thanks. So yeah, I'm Nestor Burnaby. I run the Providence Tennis Center over by the baseball fields. I really appreciate everybody joining and listening a little bit to what we're doing over at the tennis center. We're starting off our 3rd year. Can you do the next slide? Perfect. This is who I am a little bit. So you guys, I actually do hold a tennis racket pretty much 10, 12 hours a day. And last year I won the 40 national grass courts with a whole bunch of the guys that came from the park. They came to watch me play at Agawam. So I'm still a competitive player. I'm coaching quite a bit, but we also, not just doing the competitive side, we reach out to a bunch of different clubs and areas in Rhode Island, as well as Roger Williams Park. Those are just a couple of the things that we do. And 2 private clubs and 1 summer club over at Wheeler, the Wheeler School, where we have pretty much 50 kids every week there, as well as at the park, about 50 kids weekly playing tennis. And then last year we started a new project called One Love Providence, which is our nonprofit that I'll talk a little bit about in a couple minutes. So those are the 5 areas that I'll be at this summer. If you're anywhere in Rhode Island playing tennis, maybe you'll see me on a tennis court somewhere, but would love to have everybody stop by the park and see the tremendous difference that it's been in 2 years. Next slide, please, Kevin. So this is what we're adding this year. I can go over a little bit of it. We got outdoor furniture, couches, outdoor lighting we'll be putting up, trying to get it more of like a homey area where people can actually hang out now with COVID almost in the rearview mirror. Just making it a bigger family oriented club than it's been. When I took over the park 2 years ago, it was down to about 28 members. I think this year will be closer to 100 after this will be our 3rd season. So getting people back and playing has been one thing with COVID, but it's actually tremendous to see how this family's grown over at the park. We're adding, so if anybody's been to the tennis center, we have a giant courtyard that's asphalted, very cracked. There's a monument right in the middle. So with the blessing of the family of what the park's actually named, it's the tennis center is called the Todd Morsilli Tennis Center. Todd was a young boy, 13, that was tragically killed by a drunk driver, actually on February 22nd, 222. And it was his 35th year of passing away. The family's blessed us to move this the monument over a little bit so we could add 3 new pickleball courts and 1 new hard court inside the courtyard, which will not only give us more courts, but add pickleball, which is the largest growing sport. Again, I'll talk about that in a second. We're adding adult teams again, which I guess the park was famous for, was having adult teams competing by age group and by ability. So we should have between 8 and 12 new teams this year. We have a new ball machine, and the last one is a lights project. I asked the park if I was able to fund it to put lights up. I'm still working on that. There's a Take It Outside grant that actually closes yesterday, or sorry, that closes tomorrow. I just finished writing that grant for 10 to get all 10 courts lit, plus funding for our One Left project. The total grant I applied for was for over $150,000, and would be tremendous to be able to have everybody in the Rhode Island area have a second location of lighted courts. Right now, Slater Park is the only facility with lights in the state of Rhode Island. So if somebody knows anyone at Rhode Island Commerce, let them know that this is coming through. I would love to be able to bring that to the park, but again, we'll see how that RFP goes through them. Next, please. So this is One Left Providence is our nonprofit organization that teaches kids free tennis lessons. This is the date for the spring. We'll do it on Wednesdays and Sundays for 6 weeks. It's part of the part of something that we agreed with when we signed our RFP with Wendy and the park, that we would bring in a nonprofit and a community-oriented program. This year, we're going to also add adults, but not till July. So we'll do 2 days free tennis for 6 weeks for the kids starting in the spring, and then we'll do one in the summer for adults and children. So far, we've raised over $45,000 in the last 2 years. Tremendous help with PASA, which was at the park last year. If everybody can remember, they did a summer program, and now we've expanded PASA to 3 other locations. So hopefully we get their summer thing again to be able to expand it. But last year we got 50 new kids playing tennis for free. This year, my goal is to get 100 new kids and 100 new adults. So that's just going to keep growing, and it's going to be tremendous support for the Rhode Island area. So again, if you know anybody that has a child that has never played tennis, doesn't matter what level they are. If they don't speak English, we speak Spanish, English, French, Portuguese this year. I have a coach that speaks Portuguese coming in, so we can reach out to any kid basically with 4 different languages. So that's another great program that we're keeping growing, and hopefully this year we'll double. Next slide, Kevin, please. Sorry. Oh, too many. Yeah, perfect. So again, we're expanding what we do at the park. This year we'll have over 40 tournaments, and the adult teams are coming back, which pretty much means the tennis center is going to be completely packed. I think the entire year will open up in April 15th. My goal is, weather permitting, and stay open until the middle of October. So we're doing tremendous outreach. The tournaments are USTA, meaning there are kids from all over the country. This year we have a massive tournament. If you guys are around the park, the first weekend of May, we have an 18 and under girls tournament, which are pretty much the top 100 girls in the country playing, coming to Rhode Island. So my goal for that is to keep expanding the national tournaments, but really reaching the sectional tournaments and having the state of Rhode Island being one of our to play. It's going to be tremendous support. Next one, Kevin. We're almost there, guys. I know this is a lot of tennis. Maybe you weren't ready for it. So this year we're adding pickleball. As if anybody's played pickleball, it's pretty intense sport. It's the largest growing sport in Rhode Island. We're going to have 3 new tournament level pickleball courts at the park, with full-on programming starting in July. Again, no ability needed. You guys just get a paddle, and actually you only need 1 ball and get out and rallying within minutes. It's a tremendous cardio workout. And I'm excited for this project just because it's going to give so much color to the courtyard. it needs a refurbishing. So again, next slide, please. Sorry, Kevin. Last one. This is part of my team. They're all coming back. If you ever see anybody with the Providence Tennis shirt, they better be smiling, or they'll hear it from me. Our goal is to just be another part of the integral part of the park. We want to keep growing and be part of everybody's life at the park and be one group and one team. So this is my team. Is like half of the coaches at the park. We'll end up having about 25 staff members this summer with the 5 clubs that we're running, and we all alternate around the park. We do the maintenance, and we're there basically 24/7 for 6 months. So that's my presentation about tennis, and yeah, if there's any questions, please go ahead and ask. Is it open for Rhode Islanders or just Providence? The park is open to anybody that wants to play. You don't need any ability to play tennis. You just can come out. You can borrow. We have rackets for people that might not have their own rackets, balls, and again, just want everybody to get a racket in their hand and experience what tennis actually is.
I actually meant the free.
The free tennis.
class.
It's for anybody. We had a couple kids come in from right across Massachusetts. So it's basically anybody. Once the funds are in, we can run the programs. Right now we have the spring one covered from Bank Newport, gave us a grant, and USTA Rhode Island gave us a grant. So we'll have the spring covered. I'm working on the summer, and the grant that I put in with the RFP with the lights also provides coaching for the summer, and instead of being twice a week for that, it'll be 3 days a week of tennis and 3 days a week of pickleball for each adult and child. So I really hope the Take It Outside grant comes through, because we'll offer 4 hours of free programming for anybody in the state of Rhode Island. So that one will be big news if we come out. I'll be at Kevin's front door within minutes if it comes through, and get a big article out. Eric from Food Trucks just popped on. I'm working with him to try to get some type of hitting net or some type of tennis experience over at the food trucks on Fridays. It's just basically logistics for me to get from everywhere I am to be over to Food Truck Fridays. We're going to do a Friday night pickleball thing and then head over to the food truck. So again, we're working with other people in the park to make tennis and a racket sport available. But yeah, I mean, anything is on the tables. In terms of volunteers for tournaments, whoever wants to come and help, just simply, you can go to providencetennis.com or providencepickleball.com and send me an email, or if you have a volunteer that is, or any high school kid that's looking for community service, I can totally do that. We can run it through the nonprofit. Any volunteer would be amazing. The adult leagues, that's a great question. I'm almost done. After this, I had 2 grants due this last week, this RFP and then another one for PASA. Starting next week, I'll be putting up the adult schedule and everything, but we'll do teams, leagues, clinics, you name it. We'll do everything that we can. Any other questions?
Is there open play available, or do you need to be signed up for something?
Yes, that's a great question. Sorry, I didn't catch whoever asked, but yes. So there's 3 different ways to play at the park. We have a bunch of people like our members that pay the annual summer pass and they get to play unlimited. We have people that rent courts for the hour. And then we have people that come and get day passes, which you pay for the day. You can play unlimited time, and it's basically, you're there all day. You can leave, you can come back. We have you written down that you're there. So those are the 3 ways of playing. And the 4th way, I guess, of playing is joining one of our nonprofit programs if you would like to join one of those as well.
Nestor, I have two questions. First one,
Yes.
where is the pickleball court going to be?
Sure. So inside of the tennis center where there's a courtyard, you drive into the tennis center, and when you pull in, there's courts on the right and there's the big court of courts on the left. It'll be right in the middle of the courtyard. We're gonna re-asphalt it June 1st and 2nd, hopefully weather permitting. And then 20 days later, we'll paint the courts on there and they'll be ready hopefully for the July 4th weekend. We're gonna try to do a 4th of July pickleball rally-thon or something also to raise money for our nonprofit. So that I can't say will be on July 4th. It's all weather permitting with the asphalts and when they can paint the courts. But again, we're aiming for July 4th. And again, it's all based on the asphalt company. I almost went to a different asphalt company because they could do it 2 weeks earlier, but I was really going on quality and what I've heard about this company that's doing it for us, and they had the best reviews. So they can't start till July 1st or June 1st. We'll have it up in July, and hopefully it'll be a great addition for the park. You had a second question, Kevin?
Yeah, just about the lighting. Is it LED lighting, and any other like details you might be able to share about what it might look like or anything like that?
Yeah, so the lighting is it's tournament level lighting. They're LEDs and they just glow down to the courts. They don't go out like the baseball fields have the big bulbs that just go into the field. These are the ones that come straight down into the courts. But again, the lighting project's $135,000. So unless we get this grant, the lights are going to be on hold till I sell a bunch of cookies and lemonade. Or if someone has a sponsor that wants to help us at the park put some lights up, it's a big endeavor when you sign up to do a project like that, and once you get the bids in and the pricing, it's pretty astronomical. So again, the ones that I want to use, it's their professional tennis lighting. I did talk to Musco, which is a big lighting company that does big stadiums, and they were double the price, and they had these giant towers, and I don't think they would look good on the tennis court. So hopefully we can get this done.
Yeah, I hope so. Fingers crossed. Does anyone else have any other questions for Nestor about tennis or any other great stuff happening over the courts? All right, Nestor, that's terrific. Thanks so
Awesome.
much. It's so
Thank you,
exciting.
Kevin.
All
Thank
the
you,
stuff
Wendy, for
guys are-
having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good stuff happening over there with the community. Good to see so many people getting out and using the courts again. All right, we're going to now hand the mic over to Lee Picard from Roger Williams Park Zoo. As I mentioned, Lee's the manager of interpretation and graphics at the zoo. I said before the call, that sounds like the coolest job ever. Lee, take it away. I'd love to hear about what's happening at the zoo. There's a lot going on.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I do have to say first, I don't get out much, so I had not heard of pickleball until about 15 minutes ago, but I've decided I want to play it. So thanks for introducing me to that. But nice to be here with everybody tonight. First, I do have to apologize on behalf of Ron Padalano, our Deputy Director of Operations and Interim Director. He was hoping to be here tonight as well. He was planning on it, had a family emergency a few hours ago. So I apologize for his absence and my presence. But I'm going to do my best to give an overview of all of the zoo stuff, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you have. And if it's okay with you, Kevin, I'll go ahead and share my screen if I could. And it looks like we're actually good to go. Fantastic.
You're good to go. Yep. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. All righty. So let's go. All right. So before we get into the 2022 stuff, if you'll indulge me, we're going to take a quick look back at 2021, only because a lot of what we did in 2021 is forming the basis for what we're going to be doing going forward. We had a good year, all things considered. So event-wise, we had several events, but our three major ones were our Asian Lantern Spectacular, and of course our Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular and Holiday Light Spectacular. So the Asian Lantern Spectacular show, that was the first year that we have done that show. That's a spring show. We will be doing it again in 2022. A lot of the equipment for the event are already on grounds. We're already moving forward very, very quickly with plans for the show. We do know that we're going to have at least half of the lanterns at this show are going to be new from last year. So at least 50% of what you will see in this year's show, we will not have seen last year. And it is a walkthrough event. This takes place after hours. We usually encourage folks to arrive a little bit before sunset. So the show actually starts before the sun goes down. So we encourage folks to come a little bit early, and as the sun sets and the lanterns start illuminating, it's a lot more dramatic. There's going to be a food marketplace, so folks can sit and have leisurely snacks and wander around. Also, if you come during the twilight hours, the event itself, we don't expect to be able to see animals because A, it's dark, and B, a lot of them will head inside in the dark. But as the sun starts going down, you also get the bonus glimpse of a few animals. So that Asian Lantern Spectacular, Jack-o'-lantern Spectacular this past year was a return to our walkthrough format. So 2 years ago, we had adapted the show to be a drive-through show because of COVID. But last year, we were able to return to our walkthrough, and we actually set a record for attendance last year, which we were very, very, very happy about. We've already had our first meetings for the Jack-o'-lantern show, which starts in October, over the past few weeks. So we're already hitting the ground running on that. And then likewise, our Holiday Lights Spectacular show, that was our first walkthrough. So we did our first Holiday Lights Spectacular 2 years ago, and that was a drive-through. Basically modeled after what we had done for the Jack-o'-lanterns drive-through. And then last year, we were happily able to turn that into a walkthrough event. The good news about doing it as a walkthrough is we were able to take advantage of the entire zoo. So whereas the drive-through was one straight shot path through one section of the zoo, the walkthrough, we were able to decorate the entire zoo. So we ended up with more guests than we expected to for that show, which was fabulous. That'll be coming back again in 2022 as well. And just so you can have it on your radar, Asian Lantern Show, that's a multi-month show. So we're starting that on April 13th, and that'll be running through July 4th. As far as main gate last year, I'll just go through very, very quickly. We actually had a record year last year for attendance, and that's still taking into account that we still have a timed entry system where we're regulating the flow of visitors to make sure that we're in line with all of the COVID protocols, and that we don't overcrowd. So even with those safety valves, if you will, in place, we still were able to get a record year. People are anxious to get outside and they're anxious to do stuff, and we're happy to be here for them. Likewise, in April, we had a really good April last year. Our April vacation week, which we also call Party for the Planet Week, that was our highest attended April vacation since we've been tracking such things. And again, that's including timed entry and regulated traffic flow. So did very well there. So looking forward, it's our 150th anniversary at the zoo. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of big stuff, a lot of small stuff. I'm going to try to hit some of the highlights for some of the projects that we're doing in conjunction with 150 years. The first of which is, you might be familiar with, Arcadia Press has a series of books called Images of America. They're usually historic venues. You'll see them in kind of touristy areas, but are usually tied into some sort of historic area or building or town. So we are doing our own book. If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw Emily on this call. Emily is actually our chief researcher for this project as well. So we're very grateful for her. But this is a book. It adheres to the Images of America kind of format. So we're not really able to dictate like how big or how small the book is. That's dictated by the company, but it's going to end up being, it's a 128-page book. We've got about 180 photographs in it. It's about 13,000 words. It's predominantly a picture type book. And with each of those pictures, we have captions of about 50 to 70 words each. So that enables us to tell at least some of our 150-year story. There's a lot of great stories associated with the zoo that we might not have pictures for. So we'll find some other ways to tell those stories. But we hope to have this published and in hand by the fall. We're actually putting our finishing touches on our final draft this week. And then it's about a 6-month turnaround time for the publisher while they get everything in order and get that back to us. So that'll be available bookstores, at the zoo, Amazon, through the Arcadia website as well. This is a project, Ron could probably tell you a little bit more about details wise, but we are going to be burying a time capsule on zoo grounds. The reason that the Sentinel dog photo is there is it's going to be buried. At first it was going to be underneath the dog, but it looks like now it's going to be adjacent to the dog. We'll be doing a separate plaque for that. And the intent is to, when we bury that time capsule, is to leave instructions for that to be dug up in 50 years. And then hopefully that tradition will get carried on, maybe in increments of 50 years, maybe in different increments. But that kickoff event is going to be happening April 1st. Friday, April 1st is when they're actually burying the time capsule. There's going to be a press event as well. And then that weekend is going to be our first official kickoff for the public for our 150 years. So keep your eyes open for press releases and all sorts of announcements as far as what the 150 celebration will look like. We're also going to be doing a parade float that's being built as we speak. That parade float is going to be featured in the Newport St. Patrick's Day Parade, the Gaspee Days Parade, and the Bristol 4th of July Parade. It's going to be mostly animals. There's going to be a lot of live plants on it as well. We're still talking about kind of what sort of special effects we want to do. We have contracted with a gentleman that for fun and for his vocation builds animatronic bugs and insects. So 2, 3, 4 foot articulated, very realistic looking insects. So we're going to incorporate those on the float as well. That's going to come back in a later slide on the presentation. I don't want to spoil the fun, so I'll leave that for later. But anyway, that parade float, we're looking at, once the parades are done, seeing how much of that we might be able to repurpose for some displays somewhere in the zoo. It also depends on how weather hardy a lot of those things are. Other big news is our new executive director will be on grounds actually starting tomorrow. So he is going to be succeeding Dr. Jeremy Goodman. So Stacy Johnson comes to us. I'll let you look through his little resume there. But he has been, he's had a series of kind of stop and starts in getting here, some logistical issues, some health issues, but we're happy to announce, we just found out today officially that he will be on grounds with us tomorrow. He has been plugged into us for quite a while, so he's been with us remotely. So he's going to hit the ground running when he gets here, but we're all very, very excited to have him on grounds. Coincidentally, this coming year, or this year rather, is also our 10th anniversary of Hasbro's Our Big Backyard. So that's our nature play area within the zoo. Super, super popular. We had to close it down at the beginning of the pandemic because, as you might imagine, it's designed to have a lot of people and a lot of small areas with a lot of loose play items. So we unfortunately had to close that down for the pandemic. The good news is we are absolutely opening it this spring. We'll be opening it at the beginning of April. It's also the 10th anniversary where we took advantage of some of the downtime. So we're going to be making some improvements to the area as well. So first of all, people will be thrilled and delighted to finally be back in the area again after having been closed for a couple of seasons. We are in the process of creating a new sand play area. So the big backyard is basically two areas. There's what we call the big backyard proper, which has a lot of the loose play materials. That's what's in that picture to the right. And then we have what we call the beyond the fence area, which is a little bit more unfinished. It has some climbing structures, but the idea back there is for kids to kind of figure out how they want to play. So instead of giving them the materials to play with, they kind of explore and discover on their own. So we're going to be enhancing that with a brand new sand pit area. And those are the bugs that I was talking about for the float. So those animatronic insects, and they are articulated, so wings and heads will move. We're going to be able to transplant about 5 of those. And again, we're talking about 2, 3, 4 foot bugs. We're going to transplant those from the float once the float has served its purpose, and they will be up in the treehouse at the big backyard. And so the treehouse is a multi-room exploring area. Some of these are going to be very obvious when you first walk in. Some of them are going to be tucked away in little corners that will surprise people as they come around the corner, but we're excited to get those out there. And then beyond the big backyard, so there are some projects that we're doing for some of our exhibits, some of the capital improvement projects supported by the city. All of these, actually, I'll just go ahead and pop all of these up on the screen right now. These are all in the World of Adaptations exhibit area, formerly known as the Australasia area. So these animal exhibits are going to get some upgrades. So both the Babirusa exhibit, which is currently only exhibiting Babirusa, and the wallaby, which is only wallaby, those are going to get turned into mixed species exhibits. And we're going to add a couple more species. On the next slide, I'll show you what a few of those are slated to be. The red panda area and the binturong area will be adding some indoor viewing as well. Right now, once the animals go inside, you're not able to see them. So we're going to add some viewing areas so that when they do go inside for weather or not, you'd still be able to view them. And then our gibbon exhibit, which is a super popular exhibit, we want to add some vertical space onto that. So right now it's wider than it is tall, and gibbons being very climby and swingy creatures, we want them to be able to take advantage of that. So we're going to literally raise the roof on that and move some of their outdoor climbing areas even higher. So that's all the World of Adaptations area. Here's a sneak peek at some of the species that we're looking at adding to those areas. I'm not sure what species are going in which exhibits, but those are the ones that are slated right now to join us. And then I'll finish up very quickly. I'll give a quick rundown of some of our other projects for the year. We are adding what we're calling the base camp. It's a retail and food location right at the front of the zoo. So as you come in the main entrance to the zoo through the admissions gate, once you come in there, there's going to be a new themed retail and food location. This is going to be perfect for folks who want to pick up some snacks on the way in and or grab some snacks and or souvenirs on the way out. A new horticulture compound. So this is actually going to replace our current behind the scenes greenhouse. It's going to be larger than our current greenhouse. This will actually be located out in the parking lots area. So adjacent to B and C, those are kind of our overflow parking lots rather, behind the baseball area. But not on that side. It's going to be closer to the highway side, I believe. But that is going to enable us to grow a lot of our on grounds, which is great because now we don't have to purchase as much. We can grow more than we're already doing. We'll be adding a composting area to be able to do a lot of our composting on site. And because it's going to be adjacent to a public area, we're looking at doing a path that leads along the horticulture area, maybe with some interpretive graphics so folks can peek inside and see what we're up to as far as what we're growing. Let's see, the carousel out in the zoo, the carousel playground area, we're hoping to get some additional support from Hasbro, who supports not only the big backyard area, but also the play area by the carousel. We want to upgrade some of our play elements out there and improve some of the substrate out there to make sure that we're maximizing safety and appearance. And then our education center, so that's actually part of our master plan that was unveiled a couple of years ago. We're hoping to get some nice momentum on that this year. Plans already exist, concept drawings already exists, but that's going to add quite a few things. We're excited about the fact that it's going to be a net zero building, so we'll have a big solar array on the roof. That'll be the first net zero building on grounds, so we're very excited about that. We'll be adding 6 classrooms for programs. Our current education center has one kind of multi-use classroom that everybody fights over, not just the education department, but this will have 6 dedicated classrooms. We're in planning for a licensed preschool as part of the Ed Center as well. And also partnering with that project is going to be a new pavilion located. So the new Ed Center is going to be located towards the front of the zoo, adjacent to our main parking lot. If you're familiar with where the big backyard area is, it's between the big backyard area and the main entrance to the zoo. That'll be where the education center is. The event pavilion would be a little bit further up the path towards the Africa area where our UDAD exhibit is now, but that'll allow us to do host a lot of events, daytime and nighttime events. And we're still trying to talk about if we might have an animal exhibit located adjacent to that as well. Then the last 2 things I'll mention very, very quickly that are not on that slide is our very popular events are going to be returning again this year. Food Truck Friday, Kevin I saw on the call, but Food Truck Friday is going to resume on April 15th. And then our Brew at the Zoo event is going to be back again this year. That is scheduled for August 27th. And I feel like Brew at the Zoo is probably a good place to end. So I know that was a lot of information really, really quickly. Does anybody have any questions? I will do my best to answer them. Let's see, it looks like a couple of things popped up in the chats. Oh, but not zoo related, okay.
Not zoo related. I have a question about those projects on that last slide. Are those all projects that will be completed in 22 or started, or a mix?
The education center definitely will not be completed in 2022. So we've started, we're hoping to get some momentum on that, but that's going to be a multi-year project. The carousel playground improvements, I believe that's supposed to be depending on how quickly we can move with Hasbro. So Hasbro has actually already approached us about wanting to support some of our play initiatives. So right now we're in the process of making that shopping list and going to them and saying, here's what we would like. I don't know what the expected turnaround is on that, so I wouldn't promise that for 2022, but that's probably some of the smaller projects on this list, which would probably have the quicker turnaround time. Ron might have a better answer to that, and I can certainly find out for you. Horticulture compound, that would just be a beginning in 2022. Base camp, I think we'll see a lot of movement on that, but I don't know that that would be completed in 2022. Good question, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Sure, anybody else?
Anybody have any other questions? You can put them in chat or unmute and ask away.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And actually, if maybe I could even ask Eric if he wants to say a few words, if he has anything in store for Food Truck Fridays that people want to hear about. I'm glad you could join us, Eric.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Put you on the spot.
Yes, that's okay. We don't mind being put on the spot. So Food Truck Friday is entering its 8th season. We are at Carousel Village every single Friday night, starting on April 15th. We have live music, beer and wine, 16 food trucks. Obviously, we're on the footprint of Carousel Village, so we have carousel rides and trade rides and the Hasbro playground. It's always exciting because each year we bring back some of the favorite trucks that have been with us for all 8 seasons. And I think this year we're working on 7 or 8 new trucks to the scene that'll be joining us. Everything from Mexican food to French fries and burgers and everything in between. So it's always a lot of fun. We try to, integrate what else is going on at the zoo and the park so that people can come and spend a full day at the zoo and at the park and at the tennis courts. You'll almost every single week find me playing tennis at noontime, and then reminding Nestor to bring our lights over to Food Truck Friday so that we can use the lights both for tennis during the week and then at Food Truck Friday for Friday night, so people can hang around once it gets dark. For those that have not been and don't know what we do, this is a list of the trucks that are participating so far in 2022. So hopefully that's enough to get you excited. And we're always looking to add new things. So we've talked to Len Cabral about adding some new musicians this year. We're in hopes of potentially even having music in 2 spots at Food Truck Friday. We have some exciting new changes with Trinity Brew House that I think will leave as a surprise. And for those that have attended regularly, we'll be doing our mug club again this year, which is a reusable mug that you can buy during the first 2 Food Truck Fridays and then use throughout the season to get an extra couple free ounces of beer each time you buy a beer. So this is really, Food Truck Friday. I think the thing that's really special about it is that this is our flagship event. This is, the first event that when Jeremy came to Providence to take over the zoo, asked us if we were interested in bringing some food trucks into Carousel Village. That turned into a nightly pop-up with 6 trucks. And it's really been the springboard for us doing events all over the state, monthly events, every other week events. But Food Truck Friday is still the only event that we do every single Friday for 25 straight weeks from April to September. And we couldn't do it without the support of multitudes of stakeholders, and of course, the thousands of people that come out to it every summer. So for those of you that have been, we can't wait to see you again. And for those that haven't, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Eric, last year you had some food trucks up on the hill. Is that everything's going to be centralized again this year?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll continue to try to spread it out so there's more room for lines and for space. So we'll have trucks in the parking lot and then on the street at the entrance, but not on the top of the hill. So everything will be at least in the lower bowl in the parking lot and on the streets.
Great. And then how can people get news, like if there's announcements, special things going on, music, movies?
So we are
Jeffrey
on, sure. So we are on Instagram and Facebook. It's PVD Food Truck Events. But for people that aren't on social media, I will put a link in the chat, which is foodtrucksin.com/food-truck-events, where you can see a listing of all of our upcoming events, linked to the individual event pages, and then the Monday of each week on the event pages where we post which trucks and which musician will be there that Friday night.
Fantastic. Super glad you could pop by, Eric.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks everybody. This was a terrific turnout. There were like 3 public meetings going on tonight that concerned the South Side. So glad to see people can make some time to come by and hear about some of the stuff that's happening. We'll do another community meeting in June, where we're going to hope to highlight some of the amazing education programs that just continue to grow in the park, and including the Providence After School Alliance, or PASA, that Nestor referenced in his presentation. Wendy and the Parks team were able to arrange to do a summer camp with PASA last year in the park, and that they're coming back. And I know there are a lot of folks in the neighborhood who'd love to have their kids or their neighbors' kids or family participate in something like that. So we'll bring the educators around to talk about the summer and beyond with all the great stuff for kids in the park in June. So stay tuned for news about that. Great to see you guys. And again, this meeting was recorded. We'll post this on the Conservancy's website and promote it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. Thanks again, everybody. And I hope you all have a terrific evening. Good night.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good night.